Good afternoon, and thank you again for clicking on my channel. This is Roman, and we are going to go over Toy Story 5. Yes, I finally got to sit down and watch this movie. So I am a little late to the Toy Story 5 movie. But this iteration is basically like a Jesse-centric film. And and of course, I'm sure so many people have seen this, aside from me now. But we are living in the tech days, and me personally, I'm just gonna speak for myself. I am so glad that I grew up in the days where tech wasn't around. It wasn't a thing. Like I think the only thing that like came around at a certain time was like the basic PC, and you had those hard drives, and you make it play like a game or something on there. Wasn't anything crazy. And then of course, you had your games of like Atari or the regular Nintendo, Super NES, and then so on and so on, and blah blah blah. But I grew up in the time of actually playing outside, having some friends. I was not popular, but mostly playing with my cousins. We would have sleepovers and playing outside, just getting dirty, and that's just kind of like what you did as a kid. Um, but looking at these movies, it's a little nostalgic in a way of when you were maybe by yourself, because my brother is 3 years older than me, so I mostly had to play by myself. And I had toys, and with toys, you have your imagination and just kind of running wild with that. And I think that's just like one of the fantastic things of being a child. You just use your imagination and let it run wild. Um, and I think that is the problem with today's society is, you know, look, I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to say how you should or shouldn't raise your children. Because eventually tech does take over, and that is just what, the world that we're living in. But I will say, let your child be a child just for a brief moment. Let them run wild, let them play with toys, and just be innocent for a little bit. Like this just I miss the pure innocence of a child. It's just you get older and you have to get work, pay bills, all that shit, and you're just like, why? What is the point of all of this? So anyway, that's my that's my little 2 cents, if you will, for that. But yeah, so it states that Woody, Buzz, Jesse, and the rest of the gang's job are challenged when they're introduced to electronics and a new threat to playtime. So, you got the returning cast of Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, along with some few other talents. Um, like you do have Conan O'Brien, who plays Smarty Pants. Greta Lee plays Lily Pad. Um, let's see, you got Shelby Rabara playing Snappy. Michelle Harris plays Blaze. And so on and so on. Like, again, some other people again returning. Bonnie Hunt, who plays Dolly. Kristen Schichel. I know really murdered that name. But she plays Trixie. Tony Hill plays Forky. Um, let's see. John Hopkins plays Mr. Prickly Pants. Wallace Shawn. Rex. Blake Clark, Slinky Dog. Ernie Hudson, Combat Carl. And yeah, I mean, there's some voices that you don't really get to hear a lot of because you know there's so many new characters that are being introduced, so it's like you don't really hear a lot of them. Um, but this is writers and directors from Andrew Stanton and McKenna Harris. And look, this is just my honest opinion. I watched this, even like I watched the trailer, and I wasn't really excited about a fifth film. Honestly, they should have stopped at the third one. That's just me being honest. Because I'm just really trying to think, like, where and how much can you do with these toys? I mean, you have to be honest with yourself. Like, toys get played with, they either get thrown away or donated. And that's just how life is. You just you don't have the luxury most of the time of like keeping the toys for long periods of time and then hoping like you have kids and passing your toys down to your kids. I don't know. I don't think that's how you think about that. Anyway, um another thing I'll say before getting into my likes. These are my dislikes. I don't necessarily like the animation style that they chose for the times that the toys are being played with, because it's like the toys are alive in that moment and they're being I don't know, in whatever scenario, and like in the first in this opening, um uh Forky and who they never even did introduce the wife, but they're getting married, and it almost seems like the anime style of art. And I'm so sick of us going to that route. Like, why can't we stick with what is known for it? And I'm not saying I don't like anime style. I'm just saying it should not be used for every single art style. Like as far as like animation. And like it wasn't like that in part 4. So why are we changing it now? I don't know. I don't get it. So that's just me nitpicking. But overall, like it starts out with these buzzes coming out of nowhere. It almost looks like they're at a junkyard. Maybe there was like so many of these Buzz Lightyears had been produced, and nobody, I guess, wants them. And they are on a voyage of like trying to figure out where, like, I guess basically where they're supposed to be heading to. And you see them throughout the movie. Bonnie, who is still at that age of like still playing with toys, and she has neighbors as again, within today's world, today's society, kids are no longer playing with toys. They're on their tablets or phones or whatever type of device it is, and playing games, and who knows, probably on TikTok. I don't know. I don't have kids, and I'm just like, like, again, not a parent, Not going to go down that road of like what you should and shouldn't do, but I just say this like, as a parent, you're the ones who gave them this device, so you can't like talk about it later and say, "Oh, I wish my parents were more." I mean, my kids were more like me when I was a child, and we actually played with toys and being outside, riding our bikes, etc. Blah blah blah. Anyway, so she's like playing with some toys, and then she sees the neighbors, and like she's trying to get the kids' attention, although she's shy, and so she like starts waving at the kids with Jesse's hand, and the kids start laughing at her, and so she just kind of just like, you know, in her feels and just like, Mom, why don't kids want to be my friends? And it's kind of a little heart shattering in a way, like imagining your kid not having friends or making friends, and um yeah, I don't know. It's just I can only imagine what it would be like for kids today trying to make friends, especially in the tech world. Um, but I don't know. I'm just like, when you're going to school, look, it's been ages since I was in school, so I'm just like, we didn't have these things, and we actually played with our classmates, making friends, and eventually hoping to make play dates, if you will, having sleepovers, whatever, and making those friends throughout life, and maybe not that they carry on throughout life, but that's just kind of like what it is. And so she fails at making friends in the first part, and then the parents are realizing like, oh, we should probably get her a lily pad. And so that is like the quote threat, if you will, to the toys, because she now is on her device almost 24/7 and playing games or whatever it is that she's doing, and the toys are left not being played with. Therefore, um, still not making friends. So then Jesse, among the other toys, are saying like, "Look, I don't know what your game is here, but you are not good for Bonnie, and we need to like help her make friends." She's like, "Oh, I can do that easily," and then she starts like messaging these girls, and now they're set up for like a play date and sleepover, and um, apparently that doesn't go well, and it's it's just one of those things that's like, I guess being cooped up in a house by yourself so much and not being around kids your age, sometimes you don't know what it's like to play with kids, even if you do have toys. So it's really good to get your kids out there some way, some shape, form, or fashion, and let them experience the other feel of another human being instead of being on these contraptions. And yeah. So eventually they do realize that tech isn't always bad. Playing with toys isn't always bad. Coming together as one, trying to make room for each of like toys and pads and whatever, can be good and useful in a way, as long as it's not threatening, to to yourself and to others, But yeah, I mean, it was a little heartwarming story, but also I'm just like, a lot of people were like really raving about this movie, saying like this is one of the best Toy Stories, and I'm just like, I mean, it was okay. Um, I don't, I would not put that on my top three rankings, because it's literally one, two, and three, literally in that order, and four definitely better than five, but I just still I don't think the fourth one was necessary, and I don't think this fifth one is. That's just my opinion. But let's carry on and let's read some of these reviews. So the first one is coming. Oh, wow! They gave this a 10 out of 10. This movie never deserved the hate. So I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying wasn't necessary. But this isn't my review, so let's carry on, shall we? I honestly don't understand the hate this movie got before it even came out. People were calling it unnecessary, saying it would ruin the franchise, calling it trash, and some even talking about boycotting it. The amount of drama surrounding this movie was honestly ridiculous. A lot of the arguments online remind me of how people will argue about absolutely anything. It's like canceling Eminem for swearing. Everyone already knows what they're getting, yet people still find reasons to be angry. Instead of waiting to watch the movie and judging it fairly, many people had already decided they hated it months before seeing it. The Sonic 3 and Mufasa, the Lion King conflict made everyone even worse. People were constantly comparing the movies, picking sides, and acting like they had to choose one over the other. Then Toy Story 5 got dragged into all the drama too instead of enjoying the movies. People were turning everything into an argument. Felt completely unnecessary. Movies are supposed to be entertainment, not internet wars. Meanwhile, I was just excited to watch another Toy Story movie. After watching it, I can confidently say that I never understood the hate. This movie is gold. What makes Toy Story 5 work so well is that it remembers why people fell in love with the franchise in the first place. It has heart, humor, adventure, and charm. The movie feels like a true Toy Story film and doesn't forget what made the previous movies special. The animation is absolutely beautiful, every detail looks incredible, and it shows just how far animation has come since the first Toy Story. Some scenes genuinely look stunning on the big screen. The comedy is great, the emotional moments work, and the movie never feels boring. It constantly gives you something to enjoy, whether it's a funny moment, exciting scene, or a heartfelt interaction. There's always something happening. One thing I really appreciated is that the movie feels like it was made by people who genuinely care about the franchise. It doesn't feel lazy or unnecessary, like many people claim before the release. It feels like a movie that actually had effort and passion put into it. The funniest part is that many of the people who spent months hating the movie ended up liking it thereafter. That's why I think movies should be judged after you've seen them, not before. At the end of the day, I had an amazing time watching this movie. The characters are still lovable. The animation is incredible, the humor works, and the movie reminded me of why Toy Story remains one of the greatest animated franchises ever made. This movie is gold. Okay. Well, everybody has their movies that they love, their franchises. And look, I'm not hating on this movie. I'm not hating on um anything. I do agree, like, you should give a movie a chance before, like, throwing any hate at it. Um, but also, like, if, like, me personally, if I see, also, like, if a movie gets announced, I'm just like, oh my god, why another one? Because it's still, at the end of the day, it's just like, Hollywood is really run out of ideas. Truly. I mean, honestly, how many fucking sequels do we need of a movie? Honestly. I mean, come on. I'm not saying that this movie's bad. I'm just saying, was it necessary? To me, no. It really wasn't necessary. Was it heartfelt? Yes. Was there moments in there where you're like, oh, that was so cute and sweet, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I mean, still, yes, sure, cool, whatever. But still, I'm just like, okay, anybody could have made something even more truly genuine and it'd be something original. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Um, this one out of 10. So somebody truly hated this movie. Pixar has lost its charm. I love the big problem with the animation. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's try reading once again. I have a big problem with the animation in this movie. See, I felt the same way. While and it's impressive for the techno aspects, it just looks identical to real life. Backgrounds and objects are virtually indistinguishable from real life, and it's just ugly to look at. Also, the story in this movie sucks. It's another blatant character as an assassination of Woody, Jesse, and Buzz. But this time they just meander around doing nothing with a boring plot and predictable, not so point message about the time versus the tech. This basically plays out like another basic kids comedy movie. It doesn't have any insightful storytelling that you would expect from the original Toy Story characters. This was Pixar's worst effort since Onward. Their last few stinkers this past half decade has proven to me that the studio is on the decline with a lack of focus and the originality that it earned from their essential esteemed um, reputation in the industry instead of focusing on rehashing these old franchises and playing it safe with what works and what's guaranteed to make $1 billion. Because each time that they tried to make something original this decade, the movie was a big flop and nobody watched it or liked it. Seriously. Name me two people who has seen Luca. Nobody talks about these films and nobody remembers their new movies because they're all garbage and nobody cares to see any of their movies unless it's a sequel of a proven franchise. And that's why we're getting another pointless, incredible sequel in 2028 as well. You know, whoever the person is not wrong. Not wrong. I'll tell you one movie that I really enjoyed, but it only became um a Disney Plus original. And I think maybe that was either around um the what was it like maybe 2020 or 2021, during the whole pandemic. And that was Turning Red. I thought that movie was so beautifully made. Um, and you could tell that people really put some love and heart and everything into the movie. And if they really put it onto theaters, I think it really would have done well. But what do I know? What do I know? I mean, there were some good, like, original ideas, but also at the same time, if it's not getting the, how do you want to say, like, big, like putting the trailers out like they do with these sequels, like making it a big deal, people are just not going to be interested. They're just truly not. Okay, so let's move on. 7 out of 10. Excuse me. Better than expected. The traditional toys face an existential threat with the arrival of modern technology. With children increasingly glued to the screens, the older playthings find themselves sidelined in favor of a sleek new tablet character named Lilypad. As the electronic world threatens to take over completely, Jessie is focused to complete a massive dilemma, leaving questions over whether she will turn her back on her oldest companions to embrace the digital age. It is miles better than the fourth installment and a refinement, though it still feels like a somewhat curious release. The current lack of originality in Hollywood means that they naturally chose to revisit an old favorite, but it is undeniably better than expected. The film is heartfelt, genuinely funny, and packed with the usual mix of humor and high stakes hijinks. It also carries a surprisingly deep, if frightening, message about children and technology that mirrors the modern world perfectly. While the story is amusing, it does feel a bit more geared towards kids than the earlier films. Mm, excuse me. Perhaps lacking some of those clever dual meaning jokes that parents used to enjoy. John Cusack shines brightly here, and it was wonderful to see Jessie finally get the central focus she deserves. However, the reason this cannot score any higher than um, the treatment of Tom Hanks as Woody and Tim Allen as Buzz, they seem to be here merely as whipping boys, which is a shame given they are what made the franchise so eternally loved. This is a fun, amusing movie that managed to pack out the cinema, which was a lovely sight to see. It handles its emotional beats well and delivers an entertaining ride. If the treatment of its two original icons leaves a bit of a sour taste, it is a strong return to form, but it's safe to say nobody needs a sixth film. Some new ideas from Pixar would be most welcome. Okay. Um, this one is an 8 out of 10. Toy Story 5 is a wonderful surprise that proves the franchise still has plenty of magic left. What I love the most is how it perfectly captures the essence of the original movies. It genuinely feels like a love letter to the long-time fans, packed with clever references and meticulous details that show just how much care and affection went into making it. It's a great, heartwarming movie that honors its legacy beautifully. Highly recommended. Okay. If it's so highly, why did you give it 8? I'm not salty. I'm just bitter. Um, what's this? I almost forgot where I'm at. Let's see this one. Okay, already did that one. This one, 7 out of 10, better than expected. Um, okay. I walked into the theater with low expectations, and while the film never completely won me over, I ended up having a genuinely good time watching it. Once again, Pixar demonstrates why it remains one of the most accomplished animation studios in the industry. Years of experience and craftsmanship are evident in every frame. Although parts of the story occasionally felt forced, the film's central message is clear and surprisingly relevant. The challenges of childhood in an increasingly digital world. What makes the film particularly interesting is its lack of traditional villain. Instead of focusing on a single antagonist, it addresses a broader issue: the consequences of leaving children at the mercy of the digital age. It's a different approach, but one that allows the message to resonate more naturally. Pixar also understands its audience remarkably well. While the film is marketed towards children, much of its emotional weight is aimed at the adults who grew up with Woody and Buzz and are now entering parenthood themselves. Parents will likely empathize with Bonnie's situation, while others may find her character more frustrating than relatable. The film also explores them. Oh, hello. The film also explores themes of love and relationships in ways that sometimes feels as though Pixar took inspiration from some of the internet's most imaginative fan theories. This is far from one of the Pixar's best films, but neither is it a disaster many feared it would be. Its execution may be uneven, but its foundation is solid, and above all, it succeeds in delivering what audiences seek most: entertainment. Okay, okay. Okay, so that is it for the reviews slash ratings. Let's see. How do I want to rate this one? I think I give it a 7. Like I didn't hate it, but it's also not my favorite out of the Toy Story franchise. Um, it's just again, it's like how do you beat such an iconic tale with the first one? I will say like 1 and 2 was just like, battling each other for me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is like really good. Because 2 obviously introduces us to Jesse and a few other people. And then 3 was like an ending of a chapter with Andy, with him going off to college. Again, I'm sorry, just keep saying this. Should have left at 3. It just is what it is because every tale needs an ending. That's just how life is. You can't keep spewing out these sequels. And that's with any franchise. Look, I'm a huge fan of the Scream franchise. But if they don't do anything new and refreshing, that franchise is going to be the death of horror, probably. And maybe that's a drastic take, but probably the death of that franchise. Um, and Spyglass is their problem. But anyway, yeah. So that's my take on that. If you've already seen this film, drop it low. Also, if you do plan to see it and have not already, also let me know. And please subscribe if you haven't already. It's time for me to get myself together. I got things to do. But I will see you guys next time, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic day. And please, in this heat, stay hydrated and use some sunscreen because that is what I failed to do. It is what it is. But yeah, so yeah, please take care. Share any type of comments. Send love as always, and take care. Thanks. Bye. Mwah.